Hey, folks, and welcome to the show. This is Counter Clipping Show number 149 for November 13th, 2023. I had to make sure I was getting the date right because that's been known to happen. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We are mostly going to talk about Compass Expo, and in the meantime, and whatever else. I don't know that I'm going to fill the entire 2 hours with Compass Expo, but I got a decent number of pictures to show off too. So we will go through those. There will be some follow-up video on Compass. There'll be some follow-up videos, right? Some of which will be out more or less in the next week or so, and some of which won't be out for a couple of months because it was forward planning on somebody's part, probably someone smarter than me. In the meantime, we are clipping Axis Empire's Ultimate Edition. So there's like four big pieces of this game. There's Axis Empire's Total of Krieg, Dicenso, Schiff's Krieg, and Dice of Decision. And the only thing left is Schiff's Krieg at this point. So I don't think I'm going to finish it tonight on the show, but I will finish it in the next couple of days, I am sure. We are drinking. We got a little bit of a selection here. We are drinking the Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve, 1824. This is bottled at 40%, which is a little low. And it's not low because I want to get plowed. That would be ill-advised. It's low because alcohol carries flavor. That's why you put alcohol in food as you're cooking it sometimes. And the higher the alcohol percentage, the more flavor is in it, even if you are going to then dilute it a little bit with water. But I put like literally 3 drops of water in this particular whiskey. So before we get into that, and we will have sale talk too, I'm sure, because there's 3, if not 4, big sales going on right now. And I think there's a Hollenspiel sale as well, which if it hasn't started yet, it's starting pretty soon. I didn't actually get to read the post. As you can imagine, things have been rather busy. So let's drink some of this. And there'll be a loot video too from Compass Expo. That will be a separate video. So I did a bunch of shorts from out there. Upload speed was not awesome, but we managed to do mostly okay during the Thursday show, which is a total riot if you haven't seen the Thursday show with Dan and a variety of drop-in special guests that we managed to sit down and talk to. So Thursday, let me get the banner up. I want to give a shout out. It's not in the banner. I didn't get a chance to fix this. I want to give a shout out to Kevin, who is the latest patron at the veteran level. So thank you, Kevin, for stepping up on the Patreon. On that topic, super chats and super stickers are live. They are an excellent way to get your comment highlighted so that I don't miss it. If you have a super chat or a super sticker, I will absolutely get to it. Maybe not instantly, but I will absolutely get to it. And as we've seen lately, the chat's been going by really, really, really fast. So, and catching up to it has not been super easy. So I don't have anybody behind the scenes, feeding me comments or anything like that. Maybe that's something that we should talk about. Please do thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed. And if you'd like to help consider supporting the channel, then there is links to do that in the video description via a variety of different ways. Best way is the Patreon, I think. But some folks aren't super comfortable with that. So before we get moving here, and there is some news as well, let's say hello to Achilles, Bill Simoni, Bob Kowalczyk, Brent McCabe, Chad Kennedy, Clark Commander 1983, Mark, thanks for coming out, Crusty Captain, Dale Brady, David Imperato, David Zell, Doug Blayart, HUN644 New, the legend himself, Fucko, is here, Jeff Beeler, Joe Okabayashi, Joe Perez, John Longshore, John Clark, Jonathan Dyer, Carl Crater from the Wargame Bootcamp, Ken Coleman, Kyle Harris, Mark G, Mark McNair, Mark Hodgkinson, Marty Sample is here. Marty, where were you this weekend? Meandering Mike, Michael Schmaus, Michael Welker, Mike Burnett, Mike M. Palmer, Eldridge Paul, Sin, Perry Sparopoulos, Pizza Frenzy Man, Rick Cox, Rudy Armandaris, Stacking Limit, Stigler is in the house, Stuka Joe, welcome back to the show. It's always great to have you here. William Bird, Winterson, and Wolf Dog. Let me apologize to anybody that I missed because YouTube didn't tell me you were here. So that is unfortunate. So Mark Hodgkinson has his Axis Empires sleeved. I haven't done that yet. I don't know that it's really necessary to sleeve the cards. You've got those randomized cards that you might sleeve those, but they're not. You're not shuffling these cards, so I probably won't end up sleeving them personally. John Longshore, thanks very much. The support is always appreciated. And Chad Kennedy turns 51 tomorrow. Happy birthday. You're not supposed to tell us that. You're 29, remember? And if anyone would like to contribute, there's a copy of Scorched Earth that is on Chad's Christmas list. So I guess I'll mention this. And right now, the cost to undertake this particular adventure is prohibitive, shall we say. But I did find a copy of Campaign for North Africa. So if anyone would like to help out with that, there's links to do that in the video description. It will take quite a lot of people helping out quite a bit for that to happen. But I would absolutely do video on Campaign for North Africa if I had a copy. So because why not? After all, Matt Colville has let us all down. Anybody that backed his Kickstarter because they were going to get Campaign for North Africa, and I think I did throw a couple dollars at it. Actually, I didn't actually get a reward for my pledge. Just because he had the stones to say he was going to do video on Campaign for North Africa, but that has not occurred. Matt, you've let us all down. I am so very disappointed. But anyway, as we know, there's an MMP sale going on right now with a variety of different product, as well as the GMT fall sale, which is basically everything that GMT has, with the exception plausibly of the stuff that like they're shipping this literal month. So for some reason we're having a problem here. So let's I'm trying to pull up the actual sale. There we go. There we go. So let's take a quick look at this. Now we did this with Mo on the live show that we did on Mo's channel on Friday night. So check that out if you have not seen it. Carl Crater from the Wargame Bootcamp, thank you very much. Your support is much appreciated. It will go in to the Campaign for North Africa Fund, I'm sure. So as you can imagine, that is not a minor investment. I have this messed up. Spanish Morocco. That's definitely not Morocco. All right, so let's pull the screen share up from Multi-Man. I'm not going to show you the GMT stuff because, like I said, it's basically everything. You got to put a code in. Everything's 50% off. You qualify for one 50% off thing for everything that you had pre-ordered in the previous, or P500 ordered in the previous 12 months. I personally, I think, qualified for 5. I ordered some empty boxes. I mean, there's plenty of stuff I have on pre-order with GMT, but I mean, of the stuff that they have available in print right now, anything I could buy would be something I already have. So we were not able to really find anything new there. I could have plucked something, even the Hexasim stuff. I've got everything that I need from them too. All right, not everything that they have, but everything that I felt like I needed. All right, a Victory Awaits Angola. Victory Awaits and Angola are supposed to be very good. Ericor, this is BCS. It's the probably optimal BCS entry-level game, so highly recommended by me. There's a giant pile of ASL stuff. I don't even know what the hell I have as far as action packs. I do have the latest Oktoberfest pack, which I did an unboxing video, which had pretty low views, I gotta tell you. It makes me not want to do those anymore. If nobody's watching it, maybe I'll find something else. Autumn for Barbarossa, that is SCS Smolensk, basically. Major boxed sets from ASL, including Krodiger, the deluxe pack. Chad Kennedy, holy cow, coming through. Thank you, big time. That will help quite a bit, actually. We'll see if I make the auction. It's several. It's more than several $100. Let me put it that way. But the support is much appreciated. And it is something that I would like to do, and I may be able to do it eventually. But we'll earmark this for the eventual acquisition of Campaign for North Africa. So thank you, Chad. That is much appreciated. Hakapala and Hollow Legions. Hollow Legion just came out like last year, earlier this year, I think. Front Toward Enemy actually looks pretty good. Joe Chacon, Tactical Vietnam. Hood Strikes North. very good entry. There's no bad entry level game for GCACW other than maybe Atlanta is Ours because it's got the least accessible campaign game, but it still has a bunch of great small accessible scenarios. Hungarian Rhapsody, which I've played, which is fantastic. Kawaguchi's Gamble Edson's Ridge, not really clued in about that, to be completely honest. Buzzing through these very quickly. Monty's Gamble Market Garden. I thought about buying this actually. It's probably the of the stuff that I don't have, it's probably the one that I'm most interested in just because of topical interest. North Africa, that's the SCS North Africa, and that is a big game with low counter density. It's I think probably one of the SCS games with big map area, low counter density that I might like because of the low counter density. Race for Bastogne, GTS. You notice the Greatest Day, Gold, Juno, and Sword's not on here. I think that's either sold out or really, really close to it. Bunch of issues of the magazines, including Special Ops and the latest issue of the Skirmisher. Unless you are already well entrenched into the GCACW ecosystem, probably pass on this Skirmisher. I mean, by all means, buy it, and it is $8. So it's not like you're signing up for a new house payment. But there's no like module in it or anything like that, which is the only issue with the Skirmisher that's the case with. To Take Washington, that's Monocacy and Fort Stevens in the line of battle system. I do think that is a very good system. This has unfortunately been like the carrying the colors for line of battle for the last several years as progress on No Turning Back, which is the Battle of the Wilderness, has stalled somewhat, but that's been moving forward again recently as well. Whereas in Japan, some more ASL stuff. Yanks, big. So if you're going to do ASL, unless you want to exclusively do East Front, you're going to need Yanks, and you're not going to find it at a better price than that in all likelihood. So check all that out. Urban Sprawl. So let's pick up where. First of all, get rid of this because I need to actually put up my other stuff. There we go. All right, so let's hide that for a couple minutes while I blab. Yeah, I think this was the case last year too. Actually, as Mike M points out, Hex, this didn't stop me last year. I ordered last year, even though they were not on sale. I still ordered some Hexasim stuff at sale time. So, because I needed like 3 games from, or maybe it was 2 games, but I ordered a couple of things from Hexasim. So I am fine with that. So everybody qualifies for 1 game at 50% off, and then you get one additional credit, I guess, 1 additional Benny point for everything. Not even every game, like the mounted maps and Tyrant all counted that you have P500'd in the previous year. So it's a great sale. I typically, last couple of years, I've ordered 1, maybe 2 things, and usually some counter trays. This year, I did not need counter trays because I am now 3D printing my own counter trays, and I am still using GMT counter trays. I'm using it for this, but I still have last year's, or at least a bunch from last year's. So now, Angola is multiplayer, and if that's challenging, I mean, there's always Vassal, right? You can always play it on Vassal. It's supposed to be really, really good. All right, so John Z from the sunny Philippines. It is, in fact, the sunny Philippines today. The Long Roads to Gettysburg article. That's just an art. Well, I mean, the magazine's $8, so I feel like if you are into at any level that's not 0. GCACW, then yes, by all means, get Skirmisher number 3. Besides, it's probably gonna, even though there's no module in it, it's probably still gonna go for $30 or $40 once it becomes unavailable. And another thing with the GMT sale is their 50% discount does stack with the stuff they have on special already, which means that something like the Urban Sprawl that Meandering Mike picked up was already on sale, and that's a Chad Jensen game, and it's supposed to be pretty good. I think there's just like an audience problem with the people that normally buy GMT games are just not buying or interested in a game like Urban Sprawl. Maybe that's different now, but it has been sitting there on their sale list for quite a while. Udo Greeby Games, that's UGG. Those were on sale, I believe. Brant from the Armchair Dragoons is here. Brant, thanks for stopping by. I did order some empty boxes, so because I'll find a use for them. Let me put it that way. All right, and Jeff Anderson says Urban Sprawl is slick. Chad Jensen game. I mean, I would expect it to be honest about that. Kyle Harris, if we're talking about me, it actually wasn't the counter sheet, it was the map, and it was the map in Austerlitz, as I recall. And no, I didn't. I never reached out to him. I really probably ought to do that. Stigler, this is kind of exactly the point. This is kind of exactly where I am. If in recent years, if I have been interested in something from GMT, I have P500'd it, and I'm more or less caught up with that. So we got half a counter sheet, a full counter sheet, and I don't know, a third of a counter sheet left here. And there's an awful lot of Soviet Navy here for some reason, but there you go. So let's do the fleets first. But I agree with Stigler here. It's like I'm at the point I'm like this with MMP too, right? I mean, is there MMP stuff I would grab? Yeah, but it's out of print. So I'm not getting it from them. So Space Empires. Yeah, there are some really top quality games from GMT that I would recommend people order that are unfortunately not available right now. One that is a Mark Simonich's U.S. Civil War. That last I checked, at least, which was probably this morning, that was still available. So if you don't have that yet and you're interested in that at all, then you probably want to think about getting it. All right. Jonathan Dyer ordered Battle of White Plains under the Southern Cross and Downfall. My Downfall has arrived. You will see an unboxing video of it, but that's probably going to be a couple of weeks for reasons you will understand when you see it. So there's that. And William Byrd has received Prime Minister today. Thunder in the East was on sale for 125, and you get 50% off of that. So it's like 67.50 for Thunder in the East. You do get a lot of game there, and if you want to kind of preview the system prior to the next volumes coming out with hopefully better print quality, because they'll be run through GMT's printers presumably, then there is something very interesting going on there with that system, and I'll start paying closer attention to it once another product is actually closer. Okay, yeah, Bill Simone's not getting Urban Sprawl played. Is that a multiplayer game? Because that's always more challenging to get played. Eric Schaefer is not sure if he will buy anything from MMP or GMT, but you can always use counter trays. I was asked at Compass Expo, which we're going to start talking about any second here now, what I thought of the Cube for Me trays. So I will repeat that. I'm pretty sure I've said this. They're really nice. They are the ordering experience from them, considering that they are shipping them from Poland, is surprisingly painless and surprisingly not ruinously expensive. So that's good. And I really like the trays. I think the trays are flatly superior to GMT trays. They're, you got to order from Poland. And they're for two reasons. One is that the lids are simply don't come off. They're if anything, they're a little too snug. But the more important reason is that they are available in a variety of different sizes and configurations. So if you need a counter tray that is half the height of the regular counter tray, you can get that from Cube for Me. If you want little containers for cards, you can get those for Cube for Me. So those are, I think, really worth a look. And even though I am now printing my own 3D printed counter trays, I still ordered a whole box of those from Cube for Me. So, and like I said, it was like I expected to pay like $40 to ship, and no, it was like it was the same as getting some from Wisconsin. And I mean, it took 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to get here from Poland. It was not a big deal. So Bob Kowalczyk, the sale works. There is a discount code. I'm not going to tell you what the discount code is because read the latest update from GMT on their updates page. It's in there because I'll read it wrong or not remember it, and I'm not looking it up right now. So, and if you're on their mailing list, they did send you the code in email as well. So there's that. All right. So, Dale Brady picked up Cuba Libre and a couple CNC Napoleonics. I have all the CNC Napoleonics, so I didn't need any of that. I have played Cuba Libre. I would play Cuba Libre again and be delighted to do so. I do not need to own Cuba Libre. In fact, Falling Sky is one of the games I parted with at Compass Expo. I will play it again. I don't need to own it, and I needed shelf space. Paulson ordered and Compass's sale is going on right now too. For those who didn't make it to Compass Expo, I tend to not mention Compass's sale very much. So sorry, Bill, but that's because normally I go to Compass Expo and buy the stuff at 50% off, which is comparable to the sale prices. Sometimes it's even a little bit cheaper than the sale prices. So, so if anybody was looking for comprehensive Compass flyer news, that's why you don't get it from me. Lots of folks are going through the flyer on video though. So I do in fact have extra CNC Napoleonics, and I'm not getting rid of that because that is a great thing to like use as a demo copy. And it's just a core game. It's not like I own two of everything, right? And as HUN 644 new mentioned, Revolution Games also has their sale, and I wasn't sure if that was still going. John C clarifies that Hollandspiel is having their sale next week. David Imperato picked up Great Battles of Alexander plus Pursuit of Glory and Imperial Struggle and a new mounted map for CNC Napoleonics because the sun ruined the old map. That's unfortunate. And Great Battles of Alexander, you know, I've recommended that a million times. So, very good. Ken Coleman, good choices actually. Eric as a pretty new war gamer, I think you'll have less trouble learning Eric than I did. Because it's got a bunch of stuff that's really, really quite different than the typical war game mechanics. And we found that the new fella learned it more easily than we were. I think OSG's sale might have ended. I didn't check this either, so I apologize. This is not, news is not normally the thing that I feel incredibly pressed to come up with. And we did have a very tiring weekend, but we're still here tonight. So there's that. If they had the Bakelite pieces for Twilight Struggle, I might have ordered those, but I did not see those on the list. And at this point, I've placed the order, so I'm not going to start a new order and pay another $15 shipping to order Bakelite pieces for Twilight Struggle. They are nice. I have handled them, but they are optional, and it's not like I play Twilight Struggle all that much. So, all right. So, before we get to Compass Expo, let me mention that we did go live from Compass Expo with Dan. Dan might as well not have been there on Thursday night. So check that show out. It's friggin' hilarious. We had a ton of different guest stars pop in briefly, including Bill Thomas and Mo, and we got Gilbert Collins stopped by. It was great to see Gilbert again, and a number of other people who's now I'm going to be embarrassed and feel bad that I didn't remember all their names off the top of my head. And then Mo and I went live on Mo's channel for our, if we do it once more, it'll be a tradition. Live show on Friday night, which ran almost 4 hours and covered every conceivable thing. That's worth watching too, but you may need to set aside some time. It is 3 hours and 50 minutes. All right, Nordic Maelstrom only picked up under the Southern Cross. All right, so I'm going to de-emphasize the chat for a moment and go to the glorious gas pumps of wherever the fuck we were in Pennsylvania. I think this was Pennsylvania, where apparently you've got to let people know not to drive off without removing the nozzle from your gas tank. I just thought that was funny, and I felt like grabbing a picture of it. All right, so, well, I guess that's the guest Wi-Fi code. I probably shouldn't have shown you that, but I'm sure they'll change it for next year. And we're out of the hotel now. So this is Die Seehunde. This is not being published by anybody. I'm not sure. This is by Simon Kohlroos. And it's a fairly slick-looking prototype that was sitting out on a table, but I don't know if this individual was there or not. But I got a picture of it. This is Winter's Victory. Now, I guess I will... I give everybody a little bit of warning here. The game room there is good sized. Was at meat locker temperatures for every morning and all day Thursday until the hot air started filling it up. And the glare off the ceiling is horrific. So there's everybody had, not everybody, but there was a lot of tables with plexi. And so you're going to get these giant crystal chandelier images in a lot of these photos. So sorry about that. There's nothing I can do. This photo, I got some closer shots of Winter's victory here. Gregory M. Smith designed an entire game during the guest spot. I believe that's correct. I could see the fumes emanating from his tranny head. Greg is a delight to talk to, and I'm was great to catch up with him. And so thanks, Greg, and we'll have something about that in the next couple of weeks as well. I think I said Zehunda. So whether the microphone picked it up or not, I couldn't tell you. So yes, the Winter's Victory is the Battle of Eylau, based on the system from the Venerable Wellington's Victory from SPI. Now, Wellington's Victory is also on my list of things to get looked at. It is not going to happen soon, however. So don't set your social calendars on that just yet. Now, I'm still working. I haven't done anything, just so I'm being clear here. I haven't done anything on the Frederick the Great video since like last Monday, so that's still in progress. But I did get Frank Davis to do a little clip for it, so that will be in that video. So that's awesome. Thank you, Frank. And Paul Romero just pulled the trigger on U.S. Civil War. Good choice. No, I'm saying it correctly. It's a sibilant with a little bit of voice to it. Zihunda. It's not a Z, it's a Z. You know what I'm saying? German S is pronounced more or less like English Z. So, like I said, maybe it's not coming over the microphone, but I'm doing it more or less okay here. Marty Sample is so what we're looking at here are final, and I'm not talking final art. I mean the actual printed final components, map and counters and displays. Rulebooks are still hopefully at the printer now. So Marty may have said, and Marty and several other people have said this is a New England Simulations game. They are doing a fantastic job with components. These look great. They're 9/16 inch counters, so they're a little big. All right, so moving on. This is more Winter's Victory. We actually got some shots here in this case. I was struggling mightily to try and get a shot with minimal glare. This is, of course, a big battle in fairly bad winter weather between primarily the Russians and the French, but then the Prussians come in and kind of saved some Russian bacon at some point in the historical battle. I think the French conceded this sometime around Friday evening. So this is a closer shot of the counters, and probably the best single shot I got um, of the Winter's Victory counters. As you can see, they look really nice. They look stylistically kind of like so. David Imperato, I thought it was Eylau 2 actually, but I suspect that it's actually Austerlitz. I don't know that the weather at Austerlitz was quite as bad as it looks here. It certainly wasn't as bad as it was in Eylau. But I'm pretty sure what you're seeing in Napoleon trailers is in fact Austerlitz. So Nordic Maelstrom asks if OSG has Eylau in any of their games. So yes and yes. So if you have the Coming Storm, unfortunately, is the game with Eylau in it, and it is the hardest one in the entire Library of Napoleonic Battle series to find at this point. This is the one that Chad Kennedy is mentioning when he says they do, but it's out of print and expensive. There is an operational treatment of Eylau. Maybe there isn't. No, I'm pretty sure it's in there. So there is an operational game in the Campaigns of Napoleon series called 1807: The Eagles Turn East, and that covers the time which I have but have not played. So, right, exactly. There's snow in the trailer, right? I think so. So the time frame for the Eagles Turn East is about right for Eylau and Halsberg and Friedland. So, oh, good call. And it should be in the Habit of Victory as well. So Habit of Victory is, I think, in the Times 2 system, and it's the one that's co-designed with Mark Herman. Super interesting looking. And uh I haven't played that. I have that, and I haven't played that either. So, and as several people are pointing out, the Habit of Victory, it covers that. Definitely covers that, because that is that campaign. So, all right. So moving right along here. More Winter's Victory with some French counters. Yeah, like I said, these look really, really good. The map looks great too, and the counters really stand out well on this map. And it's a very wintry looking map, which is also great. Here we can see some French artillery and some cavalry and Napoleon there. So, and Napoleon's actually running this battle, unlike what kind of happens at Waterloo, for example. All right. Joe Press says that this is the first of Zucker's OSG games to that almost came out tragically. OSG games to include cards, and that makes I'm just like thinking through the dates in my head, and yeah, I think that's right. Although the card system in there, I think, differs somewhat from the card system implementation that we see in the Library of Napoleonic Battles. I think. Again, don't quote me on that. All right. So John C is seeing Napoleon on Thursday. His brother is the head honcho for Sony in the Philippines. That's pretty awesome, right? Cool, 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 cool. And yeah, Winter's Victory looks fantastic. And one of the folks there that was there to run it kind of gave me a walkthrough of the system, and the system looks very intriguing. It makes me want to bust out Wellington's Victory, actually, because I got that. And John Longshore says they should have named the film Josephine. There's probably going to be a lot of Josephine in this, like I said. This is totally accurate, I'm afraid, Mr. Stigler. Well, I mean, they're okay. This would not surprise anybody. I mean, Mark is literally the CDG guy, right? So maybe that's infantilizing a little bit. Mark has many contributions other than that, but but Mark has, that is a really popular mechanism now, and Mark was the person that pioneered it. So yeah, this is more David Imperato, who is sure that Ridley Scott will be as faithful to history as he was in his previous historical films. Yeah, this is kind of my expectation, and why my expectations are fairly modest. Now, there's on the other hand, you have The Duelists, okay, which is not a film about historical characters, but it is a film about characters set in a historical period, and I think it does a very good job evoking that period. Other than the weirdness of having very American fellas um, playing French officers, but they're that's something. Um, so yeah, all these have lots of content. Alistair Logie. And this is true. Danny gets a pass on this because the battles in the Ardennes. This is the Ardennes quad from SPI, which is probably visible behind me, and we'll have something about this in a couple of minutes. Um, does have a scenario for France 1904 Ardennes 1940, so it's not just the bulge in there. So all right. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Ridley Scott is a great director that is fantastic and makes fantastic movies when he has good material to work from. All right. So, more Winter's Victory. I think I've said all I'm going to say about this, other than complain about the glare. Speaking of The Last Gamble, here it is. I am super impressed with this. You will see some content on this game, like I said. I mean, let me be clear. You will see me do some content on this game. I am very excited about The Last Gamble. The map is by Ilya Kudryashov. I think the counters are too, and the map is just amazing. So and release date, by the way, should be a fairly firm March, barring some issue with the printers. Bill's not going to sit on this in the warehouse. They're going to ship this right away when it comes in. So here's the box, The Last Gamble. I think solid box design. Sometimes I think Compass's covers don't work. In this case, I think it works fine. So I don't know if I got these seem to be color coded somehow, and I haven't looked at the Shifts Creek rules at all yet. All right, this is one of no, I'm wrong. This is the big game of Russia Besieged. Art Lupinacci was running this. They played this literally once a day or twice a day, every day. I think they were on like their fourth or fifth game by the time I talked to Art about this. Um, so the it's and this is what I was talking about on the stream. It's like a 4x8 or maybe even 5x8 vinyl map with like 2-inch. These counters that we see on the map here look like they're 1-inch counters, but there were some 2-inch counters as well. I'm not sure, but it should be listed on the Compass Games website. There will be a Kickstarter for it. It will be a standard Compass Kickstarter where it's like basically late pre-order type deal. I mean, I would say timeless messaging in the case of the duelists, to be completely honest about it. Lots of folks disagree with you on the Blade Runner sequel, Perfidious Albion. I found it a little bit hard to watch, but I thought it was very well done in it on its own terms. I was the least satisfying thing about it was the fact that it was a Blade Runner sequel. Let me put it that way. So this is a good brag. I mean, if you got to own one, this is not a bad one, right? And we talked. Let me, I guess, mention this. Uh, Very difficult to find a more humble and gracious fellow than Danny Parker. Danny is amazing. We've had him on the show a couple of times now, and I got to meet him in person for the first time. And he was just as delightful in person as he is on the internet. So Danny personally gets high praise from me, and the game looks dynamite as well. So this was Russia Besieged, and like I said, the designer's sitting here running it, so it moved swiftly, and they got a game or two done a day. And Art absolutely loves this game, so yeah, there is no holding back. And the Finnish expansion is out. I filmed a unboxing of it, which you will see if a slot opens up in the unboxing schedule. All right, this is Ernie Copley's The War Pacific. They ran Ernie and played this with Brittany. I'm not sure if it was just those two or if there was somebody else as well. And they finished this in about a day. The Pacific, if people know what they're doing, plays fairly quickly. Now, I have not played the Pacific yet, but it looks pretty good. So at some point, I would like to do that. And the whole thing is very well put together. I expressed praise last year for the war. Oh God. So I'll talk about this. I expressed praise last year for the war and how good the rule book is and how it plays very smoothly and all that. And I, from what I have seen so far, that's true of the Pacific as well. So the changes from Hitler's Last Gamble to The Last Gamble are very substantial. I'm not sure if it qualifies as a complete redesign, but we will call it instead a substantial revision. I don't have and don't plan to grab the out of print 3W version to compare it to, but because I'm doing enough of that nowadays. But the I would expect, based on conversations with things that Danny has said, that it will be substantially revised, and there's definitely going to be like a lot of nuts and bolts like changes, like scenario changes and stuff like that, in addition to changes to the basic game. All right, this is Bitterwoods. I could easily have taken one picture each of every table playing Bitterwoods and gotten about 8 to 12 photographs out of that. I did not do that. I wanted to record that Bitterwoods was happening. I'm exaggerating slightly. There were probably 4 to 6 tables of Bitterwoods happening. It's a big deal at this particular event. The designer does show up. Bruno Senegalio, who was involved in the game, when it was being designed, who subsequently did Time for Trumpets and is also a participant in the Last Gamble affair, is, I think, there every year as well. He's certainly been there at the last 2 years. So Bitterwood's highly regarded, and it is very popular at Compass Expo. All right. I actually feel a little opposite to this. I felt like the ending was kind of a dud. Whereas the ending was the part that ties it into the previous one the most tightly, and that's the part I like the least. Um, all right, let's see. So Nordic Maelstrom needs to get more of the OSG games. Only has Napoleon's Last Gamble. I mean, if you got to have one, Napoleon's Last Gamble, I think, is the one, but it's not necessarily the one I recommend as an intro either. I'd rather send people to Napoleon's Wheel. But the cool thing about Napoleon's Last Gamble, it is a contiguous campaign game, and you can play like the whole thing from several days before the battle to several days after the historical battle. All right. Catching up on the comments. And the OSG system is pretty easy to learn. I find this file is God. I found the setup cards to be kind of a hassle, but I also understand why they're set up the way they are. All right. Here is what's this called? Shit. It's from VUCA. It's I'm forgetting the name of this thing. This is from VUCA Simulations. It's an operational East Front game, Traces of War. That's what it's called. And I hadn't seen it on a table before. And it's damn nice looking. And in fact, I had seen another copy of it floating about the convention, and I then ran over there to see if he was selling that copy, and he was not. So Marty points out Traces of War too. Marty, you may have said it before it came to the chat. But yeah, this is the magazine price list from the Compass store. We'll see the Compass store in a couple minutes. So what you'll see here is that the magazines that they have with games are basically half off. There will be some photos of Aaron Armor, yes. So didn't I rotate this thing? This is also from VUCA. This is the Great Crisis of Frederick II, and it is a very sharp-looking point-to-point game. I've heard good and bad things about this, but certainly it looks very pretty. And if I had a chance to grab it, I probably would, but it is out of print. This is the Third World War, the Frank Chadwick classic, brought back to thriving, and we'll see some more on this later as well, by Compass Games. I've talked about this repeatedly as well. This is terrific. I have a high opinion of it. There is room to expand it in a number of directions. There was a seminar on that, which I unfortunately did not get to go to. But we'll see some of the proceeds of that seminar, or their progress anyway, in a few minutes. Frederick was one of their early games. I don't know if it's first or second or not. All right, this is the small scenario, or one of the small scenarios from Into the Woods. So we do get some GBACW action here at Compass Expo, and I don't know if I got a picture of it, but there was a more or less full map, larger map scenario floating around as well. So, this one's not rotated correctly either. So, this is something that Gilbert Collins and Ken Reppel were noodling with, and it is basically 1776 using the leader system from War for America. And Ken seems to feel like it's got potential. So, we'll see if something comes out of this. But it drew my eye and also looks interesting. This is NATO, the Cold War gone hot, and a glorious reflection of the crystal chandelier in the banquet room at the Comfort Inn. This is fantastic too. My preference is for Third World War, but that's because it's a better scale match for me personally. Nevertheless, we played this too, like right after it came out, and it's really, really strong. And it's a smaller footprint. It's 2 maps. And there's going to be a couple off map displays as well, but it's not humongous, and can be played relatively quickly. So, and these guys took a couple days to do it, but I think theoretically, if you got 2 players who know what they're doing, you could do this in a day. I'm sorry that they landed on this, Sean Lambert. Welcome to the show. I think, well, I don't know, maybe that was their final conclusion. Maybe I got the final conclusion, or maybe you got the final conclusion. It sounds like an interesting idea. So we'll see if anything turns up out of it. This is Kharkov Battles. This is the standalone follow-up and expansion to Fall Blau. I have this. This looks really good as well. Here's the very aggressive seminar and panel rundown, and they added a couple of these during the course of the weekend as well. There were several of these that I wanted to go to, and I unfortunately did not get to because I was tied up with other stuff. The Bulge panel with Danny Parker and Bruno and Paul Koenig and Rich Hoffman, who is the developer on Last Gamble. Rick Girolami is on the demo team for this particular event. And Rick's a friend, and Rick is great as well. And he's got this fabulous baritone voice that just sounds great on camera. There'll be video. You've already seen, if you've watched every video, you've already heard Rick's musical baritone on my videos already, but there'll be a little more of that when the time comes to do the first video of what will probably be more than one on Last Gamble, because we filmed it last weekend. So there's like a whole bunch of stuff here. I did get to the Revenge of the Dinosaurs panel, and unfortunately had like a business call in the middle of it, so I had to bail. And I missed probably 20 minutes of it, but that was really interesting too. That was Frank Davis and Bruce Maxwell. And Danny Parker talking about their days at SPI and about a variety of different design aspects um, of games. Stigler, if it's not Kharkov battles, it is Fall Blau itself. I believe both games have small map scenarios. So, all right, here's the big price list. You're not going to be able to see this, but I took these pictures to send them to people back home in case they wanted me to pick stuff up. And I did pick up a couple of things for friends back home. All right, what did I commit to? So Eric Farago mentions this. Jeff Beeler says that he prefers GDW's graphics as well. I don't agree with this, but I do find this to be understandable. The GDW graphics were, if nothing else, very, very clear. I think the Compass graphics on Third World Wars maps, in particular, are a good update without being overdone. It is possible to overdo it, so they look good without being distracting. So, and we did have that conversation at the convention. And here's a slightly less bad photograph. All right, this is Shores of Tripoli from Fort Circle. We've done a video on this. It's a nice, very light war game on the Barbary Coast War between the U.S. and the Barbary pirates. Solid game. It was getting played on this really quite deluxe play. I don't even know what to call this thing. Play platform that these fellas brought. And I've seen this here before. I think they had it here last year. It's very nice. And I'd love to do something like this cool little travel kit type item for but mine would have to be like 4x8 feet, and that makes it somewhat less practical. All right, this is a one map scenario of a most fearful sacrifice. So Herman Lutman gets to represent here as well. There were three full map games of this going on last year, and only one this year. So the presence of a most fearful sacrifice continues at Compass Expo this year, and these guys were having a great time. You'll notice they're storing in the cube for me trays, which works really well for this particular game. Stigler says taste is a good thing for a map renderer. I mean, sure, there's no doubt about this. Well, I mean, the town's on the map. It's just not on the map that you see here, right? So this is just the southern part of the map. All right, this is La Bataille de Mont Saint Jean. So the only slightly embellished story here is that two fellas came in. They set up La Bataille de Mont Saint Jean, which is Waterloo, for those who don't know. And they were playing it and having a great time. They are using the 3rd edition rules, but they did use the timing rule, which may have originated in 4th edition and may have originated in Premiere. I'm not sure. I thought Premiere, but I could be misremembering that. And the hilarious thing is that at some point in the convention, I think on Friday, a team of French Canadian delegates came up to them and began correcting their pronunciation of all the names on the map, and then laughing at them when they got them wrong. So that was an incredibly French Canadian experience right there. And there were like a number of folks from the French half of Canada up there. So here's a cool little shot. This was while they were setting up, so these are not stacks of actual units during the actual game. This is also during the setup. So this is not the game being set up. I got a couple pictures of that later. This is something I did on Thursday. This is Europa Universalis, The Price of Power. It's a really neat game. I can't say that the dynamics in the particular thing we did on Thursday really worked well, but nevertheless, I think this game has something really special going on, and I would like to explore it more. But it is fundamentally there are solitaire scenarios and two-player scenarios, but I think it's going to shine best as a multiplayer game. So we had a six-player game going here in the Napoleonic Wars scenario, and I was the British, so my mission was to control the seas and export awful food to the entire planet, at which we succeeded. I'm pretty sure there are victory points assided on that. And yeah, it's age four. Oh, age four is terrible for events, man. I don't know if it's all of age four though, because remember that this scenario starts this on the second card round of age four. But yeah, age four is really brutal for events and really intended for experienced players who will know how to deal with suddenly your stability drops to -3, right? So I wouldn't say dumpster fire. If we want to say kitchen sink, I will accept that. It does have like a huge number of levers and gears and sprockets. So Mont Saint Jean, like that, you mean? That's how we say it here in Ohio. So, but I had a lot of fun with that. So I got some more of these later. This is the sale room. Like I said, everything I think the only thing I looked at, and maybe the only thing in this room that was not 50% off was the Finnish expansion for Russia Besieged. Now, like I said, I will have an unboxing of that if I can find a slot for that to fit in. But I will mention it's not just a map and a half a counter sheet. There's actually a lot of stuff in there. There's like several booklets and a bunch of player aids and a bunch of historical background stuff. I'm pretty impressed with what I see in the contents there. Here's another shot of Europa Universalis, The Price of Power. This is stuff that the Third World War development and expansion team is working on. So what you see is, did I get two pictures? There's more of these later. What you see right in front of you here is Manchurian Front, the maps for which are basically finished. Well, at least mostly basically finished. This big part here, which is Manchuria and Korea and part of Japan, looks very, very close to final. I'd call it, I mean, at a glance, it looks like semi-final art. The Taiwan map is clearly not quite as far along, but I think that's going to be this. I think that's going to end up being in the same package. We'll see. Now, behind us, we see a number of other things. We'll get another picture of this in a minute, including Southeast Asia and Central and South Asia. And another special thing that I will talk about when we will get to those pictures. Eric Farago says this is called the East Asia Front. So, well, they were calling it Manchurian Front at one point. That also may have been something that was used before the design team, like the expansion team, officially started working on it too. So they may have been calling it East Asia Front the entire time. That's possible. So I mean the real trick is to just get the right quantity of nasality. So all right, next up, this is 878 Vikings from Academy Games. Little tiny figures. This is part of there's a sequence or family that this is part of. That includes 1775 Rebellion, which I have played and which is pretty good. I haven't played this, and I probably am not going to, even though I am interested in this period. This is just a bandwidth decision. I just don't have time to get to it. Tolliver, yes. So that's how this is more or less pronounced, and not Taliaferro. You'll sometimes see otherwise knowledgeable sounding people on YouTube talking about, and then Taliaferro said, and they're like, ooh, yeah, okay. I mean, it's easy trap to fall in because some of these Civil War names all over the place, not just Civil War, but some names are not pronounced the way they look. Let me put it that way. All right. So, and it is Plantagenet. So they were French. So how the British pronounced it is less important. Um, Air and Armor, Würzburg. So this is Bruce Maxwell's next project, and we talked to Bruce on both shows actually. And I'm really doing my damnedest to not get interested in this, and I'm failing. It looks really nice. In both in terms of components. This is the like first off the press copy. This is like the I don't know if we want to call that a proof copy or not. Um, but it's like the first copy, like one of the two copies that Compass gets from the printer before the actual boat arrives. So now I don't know where the county in South Carolina. I don't know if um I don't know if that's pronounced the same way or not. I would not make that assumption necessarily. There is a cooking guy on the internet who does pronounce it Worcestershire sister sauce, and who then like has now is now bottling his own Worcestershire sister sauce. All right, so Aaron Armour looks great. The cover's solid. Bruce is incredibly enthusiastic about it, and Bruce has what I guess I'm calling for the moment a pretty high charisma score. So he's able to speak eloquently about it. He is really selling folks on it. I think for those interested in now, it says tactical armored warfare, and that was kind of my like key weapon in the fight to prevent getting interested in this. And it's really kind of operational, and that's kind of where that's my weak point. So this is the Errand Armor map. Unmounted maps. The counters look really good. Um, and it's like I said, it's more or less operational. Here's some more stuff from Winter's Victory a little farther along, where Davout rides to the rescue, but the rescue didn't go off particularly well. Here's La Bataille de Mont Saint Jean once it's actually set up. And let's see. Yeah, this I think is on about turn 2 or 3. You can see up at the very top of this screenshot. That's Hougoumont, the which the British did elect to defend. All right, this is the Caucasus campaign. Some folks were fooling around with this. Um, Not sure why this remains out of print. These Mark Simonich operational games do very well for GMT. The only reason I can think of here is that it is to some extent replaced by the Caucasus campaign scenario in Stalingrad 42. So if you really do want a Simonich treatment of this topic, you can just pick up Stalingrad 42. It does represent Simonich's later thinking on this topic. This is Prelude to Revolution. This is a Mike Wilner design. We've done some video on this on the channel, including an interview with Mike, who is also a very gracious and charming fellow. And you know, this is a bit of a hard sell due to this map. It is super duper spreadsheety looking, and I think a big turnoff for some people. The game is awesome. At least if you're interested in this subject, as I am, it's a really good game. There are reasons why the map looks like this. Now, the next game in what is going to become a series that Mike is working on is going to be called Prelude to Liberty, and um, they are, um, I'm not sure what they are going to do. Actually, we have the thought has fled, folks. The I've heard that pronunciation of what I would pronounce Darius, but I do occasionally hear sports radio. So really solid system. Now, Prelude to Liberty is going to have a map that looks a lot less spreadsheety. And Mike has found a way to do that. And I think that hopefully that will cause this series to take off. So that's like the entire crisis that leads up to the American Revolution. So it's, whatever year up to 1775, up to I think 1775. This is kind of true. It really is a chart more than it is a map. If you look at this thing, you'll see that St. Petersburg is in the background. So you could notionally call it a map with a bunch of tracks on it, but that's not how it reads, right? It reads like an Excel spreadsheet. So again, this is on the shelf behind me. This is going nowhere. I love this game. This is a fantastic game, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do with Prelude to Liberty. So hopefully, um, presumably, yeah, this is a little bit long, a little bit earlier than this. I've noticed a tendency in Waterloo games that I've seen lately for the British to decline to defend Hougoumont strongly. All right, so this is Roma Victrix, campaigns in the Roman world. And this is one of those. I want to say is this out? Or is this out of print? Or is this coming? I forget. I am not at my absolute sharpest. Yeah, I think you played it the same year I did, John. It's really good. It's really good. I liked it enough that I went and bought Prelude to Rebellion, which is the rebellion in Lower Canada that nobody knows anything about, even the Canadians. So Roma Victrix actually looks pretty interesting, and I'm interested in. So I guess this is on its way. So this will be out soon. And I was like, I remembered seeing this, saying, airy movement card. I don't know, lukewarm. Interesting topic, but then I started like reading about it, and I'm like, this actually sounds fairly interesting. So I'm probably picking this up. That might be next year at Compass Expo, but I'm probably picking this up. All right, this is Six Actual, who I got to meet for the first time, along with Vicky, who I didn't see here tonight, which is unfortunate. But maybe they're still traveling. I'm not sure. And they're well, Vicky at least is out from California. So Ray, also known as Six Actual, has a pile of games at various points in the pipeline with Compass. The one we see here is Air Combat Cactus Air Force. Now, I'm not going to try to talk about these right now because I don't think I can do them justice. But if you watch the 4-hour live show we did on Friday, we talked. Mo and I talked to Ray about these, and it does look like it has a lot of potential. Once these are a little bit closer, we'll get Ray on for an interview. So I have committed to that. But it does sound like there's a lot of potential here, and there's multiple games on the table. I think Ray had stuff from at least 3 and maybe 4 different things. Pretty yeah, so I'm not exactly going to rely on Bill to tell me how to pronounce Plantagenet, am I? All right, so there's Mo and Six Actual himself. Chopper Pilot Vietnam, that sounds pretty cool. Cool cover too, I think, and a bunch of little ding dongs and gizmos that Ray had brought as promotional items. So, John, they sold out. Now, sold out, right? Um, and I think that was about 180 people. However, I guess the more important thing is the hotel sold out. This is not eating the entire hotel like we do at Winterfest, where there's nobody else there. There's like a lot of business travelers and construction people and job site people and all that are there as well. You can find another hotel just down the street. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it's an inconvenience. So if you're gonna go, plan ahead. Is all I gotta say. Was it 160? I don't know, something like that. But I do know that there were some last minute cancellations and there were some walk-ins which Bill did not call the authorities to eject. So there's that. All right, here is somebody had Battles for the Ardennes, legendary SPI title from Mr. Parker. And they played this too. This was like they had set it up and then like left for dinner when I got the picture. So I saw them playing it, but I didn't get pictures of them playing it. But yeah, this was on a table, which is awesome. Here's somebody playing Washington's War amid a large quantity of filth on this tabletop. Makes me itch. This is Streets of Stalingrad. The it's like 90 a night, I want to say, John. Don't quote me on that. I didn't make the reservation. But it's like 90 a night, something like that. All right. So I think we're gonna shift creep this stuff just into a big pile and figure it out later. Because I don't have the mental juice to sort it all out now. And I'm not sure how I'm going to sort the shift grid counters either. So there's that. All right. So this is obviously not the whole thing. This is the southern map, I believe, of 3 maps for L2's Streets of Stalingrad. And it's an impressive looking game, to say the least. They're obviously playing a scenario here. All right, here's more Winter's Victory because I just couldn't get enough pictures of this friggin' thing. Here's a bigger, somewhat more panoramic shot once they had set up and were underway on the Third World War. And there's I just want to point out Stigler was clearly here. As you can see, there is photographic evidence that that has occurred. All right, here's somebody playing Bonaparte in the quadrilateral. They played through a small scenario here. You notice they're using the counter sleds. And they also, after they wrapped this, they set up Quatre Bras and Ligny. So that was interesting. Here is a smaller format footprint of the Russian campaign. This is the GMT version. Now, trying to figure out where to put this stuff. That'll do. Um, this is the GMT version with the 2 mounted maps, which is nice. Like I said in the video, if you don't want to step up to Russia Besieged, but do want Russian campaign, I do think kind of this is the one to get because it's got the most options. Yeah, Compass Expo, Bible board games. Compass Expo was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Now they do 2 a year. There's one in November and one in May. So bear in mind that you could go to the one in May. It sounds like I'm going to the one in May next year. We'll see how that actually works. I save my blank counters. I got a big jar of them around here somewhere, but I don't clip them unless I'm like experimenting with the clipper or something like that. So Eric Goebel, setting up SPI's ETO. Which ETO are we talking about here? Are we talking about the Spitzer one in the 3-inch box? Because that to me is the most interesting of the three. Yeah, actually. All right, here's another Bitter Woods game. This is a different one than we saw before. This is the Compass version, which is still available. Yes, it is in Meriden, Connecticut, which is just a bit out of Hartford. This is Seas of Thunder. We'll see another picture of this in a bit. It's one map, and it's got this really sort of distorted map thing going on. There's legitimate reasons for that. I don't want to make too much smoke about the map distortion. It's a naval game that covers the whole planet, but we'll see in a minute why something weird's going on here. Here is the classic Avalon Hill Civilization. Are they playing advanced? Hard to tell from the picture I took. But this is a well along game of Civilization. So so Stigler caught red-handed. Red-handed. Here is Fatal Alliances. This is the game I was running on Friday. We played basically a full turn, which did include a Jutland-style naval confrontation, which I managed to not do a good job or at all on running that particular naval confrontation. But it was fun. It was instructive. We had basically 2 people there that were familiar with WIF. Everybody else was basically new. So, but we had a good time with it. The folks that maybe they were just being polite, but they said they had a good time with it. I didn't have this problem with the NATO, John. I did clip my NATO counters. Absolutely. I clip all count. Well, I don't clip all counters. So, for example, as you'll see in the loot video, I picked up a copy of Pax Britannica for some very reasonable price. It's unpunched. Pax Britannica has some triangular counters. I can't clip those. That's not clippable. We're gonna just have to figure something out. I'm sure there's a convention in New Jersey. There's definitely a convention in New York. Offhand, GMT East is in New York. And in fact, if you are near Meriden, Connecticut, then you are also near White Plains, New York, which is where GMT East is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There was some weird pipe noise. I was told that was a 4-star hotel that GMT East is held at, and I was like, "Oh, it can't be." No, it's a 4-star hotel. It's fairly expensive. Um, all right. So here is Seas of Thunder, and as you can see, there's a lot going on here, folks. A lot going on here. These folks have. I'm pretty sure none of these extra ding dongs actually come with the game. But this map is compact. So, there's a lot of stuff out here. The game itself, I've heard fairly mixed things about, to be honest. So we will see what that actually looks like. But the like I said, I've heard mixed things about it. I may or may not end up checking it out. I will check out Oceans of Fire. That's on its way. And I think we'll talk about that at some point because there's a big thing happening with that. So I guess I got to be comfortable with. I got to make sure somebody's comfortable with me talking about that. I did mention it at Campus Expo, so if you know, you know. Here's Nemesis Burma, 1944. This is a Kim Kanger game from Legion War Games. It's supposed to be very good. It certainly looks nice. So that's there. This is Normandy 44, Mark Simonich game from GMT with a mounted map with Plexi on top of it because that's how you. Are they using Plexi? I'm not sure they are using Plexi actually, but it is a mounted map. Fantastic game. I like this game a lot. So, all right, this is Great Campaigns, the American Civil War. There was less of this than I thought there was going to be. I kind of thought there was going to be a rolling GCACW game running the entire time, and it wasn't quite that intense. But there was GCACW play, and Ken Lee, who runs the event at Winter Offensive, was there too with his giant 4x8 Long Roads to Gettysburg map, which is damn impressive. This is a prototype. Now, I made a note of what this was when I was there, but it's not in the picture, and I have since forgotten what this is. So this is some kind of Middle East thing, and I don't remember anything. I didn't talk to anybody with this. I just came by and ninja'd a picture. So whatever this is, it might be interesting. This is Brotherhood and Unity, great game. Tough. Oh, is this Israeli? Is this Israeli tank case, John? That makes total sense. Thinking about it, yeah. This is probably the campaign map for that, I suppose. It could be Greg Smith's sweater. I don't know. There's a lot of people wearing hoodies. It was fucking cold in that room. Okay, especially in the morning. Anyway, Brotherhood and Unity. This is Ken Reppel's next game. This is part of the Saratoga design. I talked to him. This is coming right along. Gilbert Collins is the developer on this. I talked to Gilbert about this. Gilbert speaks very highly of it. So we're looking forward to seeing this from Ken. Ken's a very conscientious designer, so I look forward to this. This is Brazen Chariots, one of at least two BCS games that was on tables. This is obviously one of the three maps. One looks like it. This is one of the three maps in the game, so they're not playing the whole thing here, but they're playing a scenario. This is Brittany and David, who were in my Fatal Alliances game. This went very well. David was playing Austria-Hungary and sometimes the Germans. Brittany was playing the French. And we managed to sew up the French. We managed to get the French to not collapse. I was playing the British, by the way. We managed to get the French to not collapse on the first turn. Let me put it that way. This is Carrier Battle Philippine Sea from John Southard and Compass. This looks good, and this was on my to-buy list, and unfortunately, they're sold out. It's going to get reprinted. They're bringing it back, but it's already sold out. So if you're in the market for this, you might have to wait on it a little bit. It is a solitaire game. This is 1944 D-Day to the Rhine by Worthington. I don't really know anything about this other than the map looks nice and the counters are big. Here's Seas of Thunder again, like a day later. I think looking even more congested, but these guys were enjoying it. So OCS was not represented, Chad Canady. This is Bayonets and Tomahawks. Yes. This is Bayonets and Tomahawks. This was getting played. You'll notice probably 40%, 50% maybe of the stuff that was on tables was pretty much Compass. So Carrier Battles Philippine Sea is basically the same system as Victory Games Carrier. Same designer too. That is correct. I can't explain this either, to be honest. Maybe there's a co-op mode. It could have been they were co-oping it. I don't know. I haven't played this or Carrier, so I don't know. But I also would find that absolutely baffling. Unless your like home is so hectic or you just don't have the space. I mean, I could concoct rationalizations for doing so. It does seem weird though. All right, this is the new edition of Kingmaker. This did get played. It's supposed to be very good. The map is also double-sided. It is a mounted map, and on the back is the classic Kingmaker map. This is a much better laid out map. It is easier to deal with. The Successors. This is the GMT version of Mark Simonich's Successors. This looks good. I haven't played it. I've played a couple of the related, somewhat by, well, at least by designer games, um, and they were good too. So this is probably good. I've heard really good things about this, but this is multiplayer, unlike say Hannibal Rome versus Carthage, which is a two-player game. This is Sebastian Bay's Littoral Commander Indo-Pacific. The folks were playing this. They were just getting it set up here. So, I mean, this is possible too, right? I actually bought a filler game at well, technically two filler games at Compass Expo. In addition to, I bought a lot of old stuff. You'll see it all, and I don't want to, I'll probably will actually belabor the point. Here's a partial setup for Stalingrad 42 that was people were playing. This is Counter Strike, the SAR GTS game that was in the GTS magazine. This is Holland 44. This is more Holland 44. This is more Last Gamble. They are a few days into the battle at this point. I believe what we had was Rick Girolami was playing the Germans and Bruno Senegalio was playing the Americans. So they were both new to the game, but they're both obviously in Bruno's case, but not everybody knows who Rick is. A lot of people know who Rick is. But they were both new to the game, but are very experienced Bulge players. They both spoke incredibly highly of it. So again, we'll have some video on that when it's closer. Fallblau, it was either Fallblau or Kharkov battles. I'm not sure, but it was one of the smaller map scenarios. This is Paul Koenig's Antietam, Bloody September 1862. I'm not sure if he might be working on a revision of this for Compass. I know he's going to publish stuff through Compass from now on. This is the awesome and spectacular jumbo dice spinner. I actually like the smaller one a little better. I think it puts a little more action on the dice. But they had the bigger one here. This is a Russian campaign being played by this young man. This is the Compass original Jedco reprint version, and there's reasons to buy this. I talked about this in the video. There's reasons to buy this one too. Yeah, we had 3 of these on the table at Buckeye Game Fest too. This is Mo and I forget who playing Second Fallujah. This is a it's not the most recent, but it is a fairly recent Paper Wars game. And I talked to Mo about it because I'm thinking about buying this. Is it any good? And he's like, yeah, it's good. So we had a number of war gamers. I don't know about under 20, but we had a couple under 20. We had a couple under 30. And there were even some people in the room that weren't dudes, believe it or not. So that like playing games, not tagging along, just to be clear about that. This is Elysia. The Avalon Hill Elysia. They had clearly photocopied the map, maybe blown it up slightly and laminated it. This is a classic, and I have not played it. So this is 1812 War on the Great Lakes Frontier by Ken Ruppel. This game, I haven't had a chance to play this since I noodled with it with Ken like several years ago before it was even signed up with Compass. It looks dynamite, absolutely dynamite. So yeah, and might have been the same one actually. We had somebody playing Fatal Alliances too. She had a great time. This is Crusade and Revolution. This is the Spanish Civil War, built on the chassis of Paths of Glory. I've got this too, and it looks really good, but I haven't had the chance to play it yet. As you can imagine, I've got not the most bandwidth, is what I can say. Yeah, so the youngster won. Fantastic. That is fantastic. This is War for the Union. I'm trying to remember who the designer on this was. Rob Bama, perhaps? Somebody will let me know in the chat if that's bullshit. So this is an older game from Clash of Arms that Compass redid. The original map was by Rick Barber, and this one's not. But it is an attempt to bring in some of the stylistic flourishes that Rick Barber brought to the original map without necessarily aping Rick Barber slavishly. I have read a couple of fairly detailed reviews on this game, and which lead me to believe, pending better information, that there are some things to like about this game, but that there are also some issues and things that I won't like. I nevertheless picked it up for research purposes, and it, half off. You're gonna buy it here, right? There you go. He might let you win because he just wants it to be over. That's plausible. There is no bar nor alcoholic beverages at the Compass Expo, so that's one of the things. It would be nice to have a restaurant in the hotel, right? And almost very few of these gaming events do. WBC does, and Console World Expo do, and Origins does. And I guess Buckeye Game Fest does, right? So maybe it's more common than I think it is. I don't know. But in any case, War for the Union, 2 maps. Some people really like the map. I don't like these mountains, but like I said, I bought it for research purposes. Not only can you drink at Winterfest, there is a dedicated restaurant size cooler in the game room for your beverages and leftovers. So, yes, a Canadian iced tea and Coke. One of these, I got to remember to bring the iced tea next year. It was like one of those things. It's like 2 weeks before, I'm like, yeah, I got to go do that. And then a week before, I was like, oh yeah, I got to go do that. And then 2 days before, oh yeah, I got to, and I never went and did that. So, not a 4-star hotel. I mean, I'm not demanding a 4-star hotel. So, left to right here, we have Mr. Danny Parker, Mr. Bruce Maxwell, and Mr. Frank Davis. This is their Revenge of the SPI Dinosaurs panel. And as was pointed out at the panel, Frank was one of the first employees of SPI, and Bruce was one of the last. So this was really, really good. They talked about a whole bunch of different stuff, including SPI experiences, but also a lot of design things at best. Yeah, I'd call the luxurious comfort inn here a 2-star hotel. But I'm fine with that, right? I mean, if it's not disgusting, I'm basically fine with it. And there's minimal amenities. And to me, minimal amenities are: is there a bathroom? Is there coffee? And maybe a water fountain. I'm pretty much okay. Comfort Inn. Oh, this place has not seen a 3-star. Okay, this is the seminar room. Okay, it's a friggin' storage closet. So the Winterfest Hotel is very comparable in a lot of ways. I think it's a little better maintained, actually. But it's also smaller. This place is bigger than the Winterfest Hotel. It's also a little more expensive because everything's more expensive in Connecticut. This is the map. I don't know if this is final or very, very close to final, but I think it's one of those. This is the map for Frank's game Divine Wind, which he is in the final innings of finishing now. This sounds exceptionally promising, and I hope to get the chance to see more of this as soon as possible. And it's a great looking map. It is, I would estimate, approximately a half a normal size map, but there's going to be some off map displays and stuff too. So reasonable footprint, reasonable playing time. By reasonable, I don't mean Gary reasonable. I mean like 2 to 4 hour reasonable, not like, oh, Gary says it's reasonable playing time. It only takes 32 hours to play. So no, it's not going to be one of those. That is 100% the vibe in the seminar chamber. The seminar chamber / where they keep the jumper cables. This is Gilbert Collins' next game for Compass, the Kaiser's High Sea Fleet. It is basically a war at sea inheritor for World War One. And it actually looks good. And I think this map looks good too. I don't know if the map, it's by Knut Grunitz. So I think the map looks nice. I don't know that it's a final map. So yes, there's a flickering fluorescent light hanging from the ceiling. This is more shots. This is probably the best shot I got of the last gamble. And like literally the most negative thing I have to say about this entire thing is that they didn't clip the counters. But then I wasn't there. I would totally have clipped the counters as I went. So there's that. Lots of photos of you'll see when I do the video that I needed extra photos. So I took a lot of photos of Last Gamble, and it's probably at this point. So bear in mind that part of this is because it's close too, right? It's going to come out in March. So this is my number one highest expectation game from Compass at this exact moment. Kyle Harris says there's quite an uptick in World War I games. There's no uptick at Compass. It's World War One all the friggin' time. Okay. Um, David that was playing Fatal Alliances with us bought no less than I think 6 World War One games, strategic level World War One games. There were at least another 4 to 6 that he could have bought that were tactical games. And this is stuff that Compass had, right? Maybe it was in the secret stash, but they had. No, but this was purchased. David, like I said, one of our fellas who played Fatal Alliances did pick it up. And I've looked through Death in the Trenches. It actually looks like it's got some really interesting things going on. There are a couple of War of 1812 things floating around in there as well. And I did check with them to see if they had the errata counters for uh, End of Empire, and they do not, by the way. Yes, there's a over here on your left is coffee, waterboarding, torture, jumper cables. Okay, this is a bigger shot of the last gamble from up above. So you'll notice here that there's a second scenario map in the game for the Muse scenario, and they were kind of playing a longer scenario on the 2 maps and a shorter scenario on the 1 map, or looks like about half a map. So there's going to be a lot of play value, a bunch of different scenarios in the game. So I think I'm fine with the map in the Compass version. I don't know about the earlier one. There's tons. There's tons that don't. To be honest about it, some do, but I think just as many don't. More pictures of Last Gamble. More pictures of Last Gamble. This is going to come with 3. Going to come with 3 80+ page books. There's like a rule book, there's a playbook, and a historical background book. That's like a master's thesis on the Battle of the Bulge. So, Roger Hemseth saw KGB interrogation rooms that look like 4-star hotels. It's not a fancy room, and it's very echoey as well, and the doors don't close properly. They did make some improvements to the hotel in the last couple of years, but it isn't exactly it's not exactly the Ritz, let me put it that way. But again, I'm cool with that. No Red Poppies games were being played, and for those who recalled that they mentioned that they might have had a secret stash of about half a dozen copies of the first Red Poppies game, those are gone. So I have the volumes 2 and 3. They look promising, and hopefully I'll get to do something with them at some point. Oh, geez. I got it, John, and several other people have it. A lot of folks appear to have popped up with pictures of it. Then again, it was so expensive that if I paid that much money, I'm damn well going to take pictures of it like I just bought a car. So it is expensive, but mine's close. Well, I got about 2.5. I got exactly 1.5 counter sheets left to clip. Let me put it that way. I got to figure out how I'm doing the shift speed counters. I just don't know yet. So that is kind of where I'm at with that. That's why I stopped tonight, because I'm kind of at a point where I've got to organize, and I'm not going to do that on camera. All right, more Last Gamble. This is the battle before the Muse scenario, where the Germans are attacking some British. So there's that. This is Ericor. BCS Ericor. This got played, I think, probably to completion, actually. Terrific game. Okay, so Alistair Logie says the Shoots at Games edition of Death in the Trenches is ugly. That's the one he has. I think I remember that, but I never owned it. So John, talk to Merv about Axis Empire's Totaler Krieg. Merv has an extremely high opinion of it, and so do I. So I think this is going to be the edition to have. The only reason I got rid of the other ones is because I knew this was coming, and then this got delayed by like 3 years. Do I think this is going out of print? This being Axis Empires? Maybe. It's not impossible. Carl says that it's one of his favorite strategic level World War II games. Almost done with Totaler Krieg. That's the part that I did first. Brian Jarvis, this is interesting. Says Axis Empires will someday be seen as the turning point for decision games. Maybe. I think there's something to this. If we mean the previous edition of Axis Empires, because the previous edition, the last edition, Axis Empires Totaler Krieg and Dicenso, that was pretty solid, and this looks better. So Were any CSS series games? Oh, yes. I think it was Tinian. I'm not sure I got a picture of it, but I believe there was a Tinian game getting played. So, yeah, John, I'll see you then. I'll be there too. Meandering Mike says Axis Empire is too expensive unless someone wants to trade an in-shrink copy for in-shrink copy, of course, on Pocket 2. This is I mean, independent of topical interest, right? Somebody might be super interested in Course on Pocket and not at all interested in Axis Empires. And if that's the case, then Course on Pocket is the right game for them. I am not particularly impressed by Course on Pocket 2 in the context of it being a new edition of Course on Pocket, right? I don't think that it's the same map. I think the counters are not as good as they should be. I don't know what the story is behind that. I mean, Jack Rady certainly has this impeccable credentials designing East Front stuff, no doubt about that. And it may have been that they may have had it might have been a now or never type of thing. It's like we're either publishing this now or it's not happening. And that's kind of the sense that I have. So I'm glad they got it out. Certainly the original is very high priced collectible. So for those who couldn't get it, then and you want that game, yeah, it does look like a solid game. I just don't think it's as big of an improvement over the original in any way, including component quality, as it should have been given the amount of time that has passed. I will also say, and I understand there may have been a licensing issue. It's a damn shame they couldn't get the original cover from Roger McGowan because that's a great cover. Marty Sample says he can't give that DG that much money, not until they get reliable intel. They didn't screw it up. Well, I did it, so you take that for what it's worth. But I'm not saying this is a prudent strategy. Wait and hear what people think about it. Good idea. That's a good idea. All right. So this is The Lamps Are Going Out. This is another one that gets played at every single convention, or every single Compass Expo at least. It's supposed to be really good. I've got it. Haven't had a chance to play it yet. This is Enemy Action Kharkov. They were playing this for a couple of days, I believe, and this is some people did. I think this didn't hit it as didn't push as many buttons as Enemy Action Ardennes did. Let me put it that way. Here's another Bitter Woods setup. This is a somewhat expanded map with counters that are stickers that are labeled onto these like lucite squares or something like that. Here's Brazen Chariots again. This looks like the same scenario, which might be true. And you'll notice my counter storage bins here. Not my design, but I gave a bunch of them away. So if you were at Compass Expo and I knew you, chances are pretty good you were going to walk out with a little stack of these. You can get a lot of interesting things out of that Dyson decision while still getting something that kind of looks like World War II. So back to Mount St. John here. These are Prussians coming in, Prussian infantry marching in with a little bit of cavalry at least. Here's more Mount St. John. Forget where on the battlefield this is. Here is Europe in Turmoil. So this is I was hoping they would have Europe in Turmoil 2 at Compass Expo because I was going to buy it if they did, but I didn't think they were going to. This is a game about the build up to World War One, and it is a game based on the Twilight Struggle model, which is something that okay, that's maybe interesting. I'm more interested in Europe in Turmoil 2 because that is based on this, and it's the period between World War One and World War II, a period of interest to me. This is a This is a Decision Magazine game. I'm not sure if it's World at War or Strategy and Tactics, but I have it. It's called Stalin's versus Victory, and it's about out east. So it looks reasonably interesting, and as you can see, pretty low footprint. Good travel game. This is Engine Thieves. This is Wes Crawford's Civil War train raid game. I first heard about this, I think, at last year's Compass Expo, and I was like, oh, it's a train Euro thing. Okay, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And then I started hearing more about it, and I'm like, okay, this is an actual war, the Andrews Raid, that happened during the Civil War, and it's actually a really very interesting thing. So I am now interested in this. Now, this is part of the Compass Games but whatever that gold star game or whatever that new label is that they're doing, and it's in line behind Burning Banners and maybe one other thing. So this is a little ways away. Lock and Load did a live chat. I didn't see this. What did they say? So no, we did not cover that. But yeah, this is interesting history, and Wes has another one in mind that's also interesting history too. So you start telling me about Civil War train raid. I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll give this a look. So when this is closer, we'll have to talk to Wes about it as well. So here is another shot of the Taiwan map. Now that I'm looking at the closer shot, this looks closer to being done than I thought it was. But this is probably near final art. So Alistair says the games are coming. All right. Well, I mean, I don't think David's a crook. I think the games are coming. When they're coming, that's a good question. So more Third World War expansion map stuff. Here's East Asia front again. Here is the Indo-Pakistani border. Very interesting. Here is the rest of the Middle East, including Jordan, Syria, Israel, and Egypt. Very interesting. Here is the Atlantic Ocean. Now, we may recall, those of us who are ancient, doddering old people, might remember that I think GDW years and years ago was talking about doing a naval module, and the consensus was that they couldn't get it to work. So I'm glad that these folks appear to be revisiting that idea at least, and maybe or maybe not, they'll get it to work. But if they do, fantastic, and if they don't, well, then at least they tried. So it's good to see that they're giving it a shot. So we're going to now see more shots of the Compass Games sales area, which was open for pretty long hours, by the way. I believe the posted hours were whenever Bill feels like getting here to whenever Bill feels like leaving, which in practical terms was probably 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. That was the probable hours. It was open pretty late. And this is where the registration area was too. So tons of issues of Paper Wars, all of which, as far as I could tell, were in fact $25 a piece, which is like, I don't know, 50 cents less than half off. So I bought about 6 or 7 of these. I basically bought everything that looked even vaguely interesting, including some stuff that I didn't know about until I started pawing through it. So Alistair says he thinks David managed to talk some people off the ledge, but there's still a contingent that still think he's out to steal their money. I don't believe for a minute that David's out to steal their money. Now, whether circumstances have conspired such that that stuff is late or they can't deliver, that's kind of a different question. But I don't think David's a crook. So, again, that's my opinion. Take that for what it's worth. I would also like to hear more about the Thin Red Line, the fate of all, but I don't have any news about that. But man, you never know. Fabrizio shows up from time to time. All right, so here is one of the bunch of different round tables that they had to do this on, including Silent War 2.0, which I, against my better judgment, picked up. It is an impressive looking package. It is an interesting topic. It is also a dedicated solitaire game, which I'm trying to get away from. But it is really nice. So American subs in the Pacific on like a strategic operational level. So here's another. What else did we have here? Russian campaign, the Jedko version, Schnell boats. I'm not going to talk about that. Preludes to Rebellion or Revolution. Prelude to Rebellion has sold very poorly for Compass, from what I hear. But frankly, that's because of a combination of its spreadsheet-looking map and the fact that no one has any friggin' idea what the rebellion in Lower Canada is. I talked to Dan. He's like, yeah, I know that happened, but what else do you know about it? Nothing. So even in Canada, they don't teach extensively about that. But at least Prelude to Revolution is the Russian Revolution. That's the one I've played, and it's really good. And like I said, on the strength of that, I picked up Marco Putre's Prelude to Rebellion as well. Stellar Horizons, that's done very well for Compass. Stellar Horizons 2, which is a standalone, will be out at some point as well. Traders of the Year is basically a Euro. Not really my thing. Sovereign of the Seas, interesting coverage. Snipperco confirmed, some people like that. South China Sea, I have. It's a Third World War type of situation, but it's modern hypothetical as opposed to pre-modern hypothetical, if you know what I'm saying. And that's why I picked it and its expansion up. And Triumph of the Will is one of the seemingly endless series of alternate history Thai Bomba games where the Nazis won and the Japanese won, and now they're fighting each other. Over here we have War for the Union, Test of Faith, Battle of the Bulge, Tinian, the War, whichever war that is. Looks like that's the Pacific. The Adam Starkweather, Vietnam. I looked at it again. I'm like, man, this map's nice. Gilbert's War for America and the Third World War. And there's something weird going on with the Third World War boxes in this printing. This is at least the second and possibly the third printing of Third World War, by the way. Stalin's World War III, a Thai Bomba joint, and Greg Smith's Western Front Ace. Now, I'll do a video on this, but Greg was gracious enough to give me a copy of Western Front Ace, and I have already opened it. The video's filmed. I'm very impressed with the content, so let me put it that way. It is a narrative-driven solitaire game, a subfield of war games of which Greg is basically the maestro. And Greg is, he's super enthusiasm guy. So it was, okay. I'll talk about this in a second. So, it was great to catch up with Greg too. This is great. You got to be in on the joke for this, I suppose. All right. So, all right. Let's catch up slightly here on the comments. I've been focusing on keeping up with the comments. So, John C says, if I decide to dump Silent War 2.0, he'll take it off my hands. Maybe talk to me in a couple of months when I can't figure out where on the shelf it goes because I ran out of space again. Eric Farago says East Asia front is coming first, Kashmir is second, Middle East third, Southeast Asia fourth, then a Yugoslavia and Pact Soviet breakup scenarios, and then lastly will be the naval module. What about the OB update? Because that's what I think that is the biggest complaint, is the fact that they didn't update the OB. Carl has played Prelude to Rebellion, and it says it is very good. Identical system and worth the effort. Yeah, I mean, well, hell, I'm willing to. So the great thing about that game is if it's awesome and you become super interested in the history, there are 0 more games to buy on that history. So you're ahead of the game. Slightly dehydrated here, folks. All right. So Alistair says that David did make it clear that there are no refunds available from the Kickstarter campaign, but he thinks that's standard for Kickstarter. I think I would want to see the context before commenting on this. I have concerns about what I believe is being said here. So, no, Korea is OSS Volume 1. Now, there's been, let's say that the Korean game got a bit of a frosty reception. I think a lot less people checked out the Vietnam game. Of the games in that series, the ones that seem to have drawn the most interest are the hypotheticals, which are the last 2, the Doomsday Project ones. All right, so yeah, but nevertheless, some Kickstarter publishers manage to give refunds out. So I mean that can't go through Kickstarter is a thing. Like I said, I'd want to see the context. I'm not gonna imagine what they might have said and climb up somebody's ass because of what I imagine they might have said. I want to see what they actually said. All right. So Jeff Beeler says that the rebellion in Lower Canada led to the union of what are now Quebec and Ontario and started the path to responsible government in Canada and gave them the name of their Spanish Civil War unit. Cool. Oh, okay. So Eric says that the OB update is part of the Soviet breakup scenario. So that's good. All right, so what do we got here? We got Interceptor Ace 2. Are there 3 Interceptor Aces, or is that's just Volume 2? Festung Europa, Kharkov Battles, Korean War. That's a Joe Balkowski Korean War. It's great. Korea Fire and Ice. That is the first in the OSS system. France 1944. That's the Mark Herman game. Mark says he does want to do the Russian one. He's just got to get to it. Folded Gap, which is the CSS system. Adam, please get back to World War II in this system because I'll buy them. I will be happy to buy them. And there will be videos, but I'm not buying this hypothetical stuff. I don't need additional hypothetical stuff, especially not grand tactical hypothetical stuff. Indian Ocean region is the standalone follow-up to South China Sea. Not a great title because it doesn't tell me enough. Imperial Tide is the Greg Smith Tide system game on World War I. It's been reasonably well received as far as I could tell. A whole bunch of stuff back here on the back tables, including the Finnish expansion, Pacific Tide. Once we move like the wind, the Apache Wars, I should probably check that out because it is an interesting topic. The Saint Lo is a Joe Balkowski game, unless I'm misremembering it. No Peace Without Spain, No Peace Without Honor. That's the No Peace Without Spain system. The next one in that series is going to be No Peace for 30 years. And that should be cool too. And they're going to do a 7 Years War one as well. Yeah, so this is yeah, I don't know what was said, and I haven't looked at the Kickstarter refund policy either, so I'm not gonna speculate on this. Feel free to talk about it in the chat. I'm not trying to shut that down. So, but I don't really know enough to comment other than that I know David, and I don't think David's a crook. I don't think David's out to stiff anybody. HMSGRD should have chaos total failure. Yeah, total. Well, that's yeah. We've already been down this particular road. Based on the rules of Kickstarter, again, I don't want to comment on it. I'm okay. Talk away. I've finished commenting on this because I just don't have enough information. All right, a whole bunch of good stuff here. Oceans of Fire. I've heard mixed things about that, but I'm checking it out. It's on its way. I picked up the 2 Napoleon's Eagles games. That was the so-called filler game that I picked up. Between that, I've got 2 boxes. I got kind of a ton of Napoleonic card game goodness. Hopefully it's good. Lamps are going out. No Motherland Without's quite a neat game too, I gotta say. The map probably I don't know for how many people it's turned off, if any, but the map is so red that is thematically appropriate, but it's kind of hard to stare at for the entire game. It's super red. The game's pretty neat. I'm just complaining about the amount of red in my red, right? Ironically enough. I didn't get a picture of it, but there was a game of Brief Border Wars on a table. That seems to get played at a lot of conventions. It's very small footprint. This Brothers at War, I probably should take a closer look at. That's supposed to be pretty good. Ken's 1812 War on the Great Lakes Frontier. I've heard mixed things about Barlev as well. Bitterwoods is very well regarded. Blood on the Ohio is another one I looked at, but then I think it's point to point, so I said no. Had it been a hex map, I probably would have bought it. That sounds dumb, but it's probably accurate. Here's a bunch of stuff. Brotherhood and Unity is real solid. Defending America is a solitaire. Not sure if it's Greg's design, but it's Greg's system. Death in the Trenches again looks promising. Cradle of Civilization actually looks a lot more promising than I thought it was going to. Here's Enemy Ashikarkov, Fall Blau. I do have that. Fall of Tobruk. I didn't buy that, and that is Chris Fawcett. Is that a designer signature game? It doesn't look like it is. Fatal Alliances, which they're real close to selling out of, by the way. All right, so this did get. I'm not sure if I got a later picture of this or not. This isn't even all the friggin' pictures. This is Downfall. This is the new game from GMT, original designer Chad Jensen, and co-designer after Chad's passing, John Butterfield. This looks nice, strictly from a physical perspective, and it is getting extremely positive buzz. Extremely. All right, I'm going to change something here since we're not actually. There we go. Since we don't actually have I got this thing up still. This is Breakthrough Russia. This is Ernie Copley's new game. So apparently Ernie doesn't want to do monster games anymore, which is unfortunate because I liked his monster games. This is pretty good. So Ernie's got pretty good instincts, so this is probably going to be worth a look. I don't really know how close it is. Looking at the pieces, it's not super duper close. Here is me and Danny Parker. Danny, a wonderful, gracious man, was kind enough to help us with some video, and he gave me a poster, and it was fantastic to meet him in person for the first time. So this is the one time I broke character right for photographs is right here, by the way. And so I saw these at the Holland 44 table, and I said, I can design that for 3D printing. These are not, they kind of look like they are, but they're not 3D printed. They are some kind of rubberized material. I don't think they're TPS. However, I can design something very similar fairly easily. And I think it might potentially be very handy. So I might do that. So stay tuned for that. And that's why I got these pictures of them. This is what was this? This is Iron and Blood, Herman Lutman's game. I think now available from Blue Panther. Here's me and Mo. Look in absolutely in character here. I know everybody thinks he's bald, but there's now photographic on-cam evidence that actually Mo has a full head of hair. And I don't know why he wears the hat. It's a disguise, I suppose. So nice picture. Mo's like we're shaking hands because Mo's leaving at like 3 a.m. This is End of Empire, actually. Cool looking game. I can't wait to get to it. So Andrew Cook says those are the BGG store card holders. I actually don't like the material they're made of. They're too sticky, they're too rubbery. There we go. Maybe this is probably available somewhere. I'm gonna have the traveler models available at some point as well. Yeah, I don't have a backer kit is not itself a crowdfunding platform unless they've broken into that. They're kind of helping with fulfillment. Game found a Kickstarter. I mean, I don't notice that there's a difference, to be honest. Stigler, yeah, the hunter green is probably the most fetching color on me too. I also saw these. Now, these are something that Ray brought to represent altitude. And I took some pictures of these as well so that I can maybe 3D print something for these too, although I don't have an immediate use case for them either. So here's me and Mr. Gilbert Collins. So I told Gilbert this, and I imagine Gilbert feels as puzzled and embarrassed by this as I do when people say it to me. And people do say it to me about how you keep, you make the hobby stay interesting and fresh, blah, 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 blah. You're an inspiration, blah, 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 blah. And when people say that to me, I'm like, yeah, thanks. I'm like, it seems so weird because I don't feel like an inspirational or charismatic figure. I feel the same way about Gilbert, and I basically said all that fanboy stuff to Gilbert, and Gilbert was exactly as embarrassed by it as I would have been. So, so it was great to hang out with Gilbert again. Gilbert got some of those little trays. Did I get? Oh, here's the hotel itself from the luxurious gas station across the street. You can see it is a good sized Comfort Inn, and you would think that the cell reception would be fabulous, but it's not that great. And that, folks, is the literal last picture. So let me pull this down, pull that up, put this up. All right. So I shockingly, I mean, there was a lot of commentary in there, but I didn't think I had that many pictures, but apparently I did. All right, so Marty is pretty sure Later Games uses Backer Kit as their crowdfunding platform. Okay, yeah, I've never seen anything there, but I mean, okay. I heard the Maverick movie is good. I didn't like the original one. I mean, I found it I found it tonally unpleasant. Let me put it that way. I know it's a classic. Lots of people love it. That's great. I'm good for them. I'm just not as big a fan as those people are. That said, I wanted to see Maverick. Is that Comfort in a front from a Cold War number station? This is possible given that giant microwave array in the background. So Chad Kennedy says, I'm the one that got him into wargaming. Well, I'm delighted that you got into wargaming, Chad, and thank you. But I mean, it just, I'm not naturally that kind of person, and it that feels comfortable socially, I guess. And so it always feels weird when people congratulate me on my high charisma score, and I've got a charisma score of like 8. So John Madison says that Maverick is to Top Gun what the Force Awakens is to A New Hope. I could take that either way, to be completely honest. I could take that as a wonderful revisiting or a tiresome retread. So let's get rid of this and let's talk about what is going on. So we hope to actually start Napoleon's Last Gamble this Wednesday. That'd be great if that actually happens. We did have a last minute delay, which resulted in me not taking a box of games to Compass Expo to sell. I guess I got more to say about Compass Expo. Just to say this out loud, I had a fantastic time. I will go back. I might go back to the one in May. Well, so I have committed to going back to the one in May. So the one in November seems unlikely to do both, but we'll see. The I could sort of see this, and we are both from Cleveland, so it kind of does make sense. The I don't think so. I thank you. I don't think so. Rick said this that the weekend. Oh, he's a natural. I'm like, natural at what? So the yeah, I will see. But the I'm getting embarrassed, folks. So keep it up. The I had a great time. It's a good event. It's you kind of have as much Bill as you want, right? I think I'm fine with Bill. I think I find him to be the charming, irritable, and slightly crazy, eccentric uncle of wargaming. So he is irritable and temperamental, and wears his heart on his sleeve and doesn't bullshit you, and that has value. So there's that. The event itself is good. It's the hotel is decent, but it's not so fancy that it's super expensive. That's fairly nice. There is food within easy walking distance. There's a Dunkin' Donuts and a Wayback Burgers across the street, plus a Wendy's is like right there. There's a McDonald's right there. Right next door is Nardelli's Grinder Shop, which is closed on Sundays. Is the worst thing I can say about it. It's very good. So Skyline City. What is Skyline City? Is that like a place out there? I don't know nothing about this. John's going to Concept next year. You might as well. You're not that far away. So I suggestions were made about the next location of Concept World Expo whenever it moves out of Tempe. That's all I got to say. I have ideas. Those who were there know what the ideas were. I guess I said it out loud on my normal volume. So I suggested to John that he move to Akron, Ohio. I'm not sure he was taking me seriously. There are refrigerators in the room, and in fact, they're a little too cold. All my beverages froze. So, okay, so John's coming to Compass next year. Okay, fantastic. This is a much more economical convention than Concept World Expo. So, but by all means, go to Concept World. It's supposed to be fabulous, but I mean, it's like it's a ruinously expensive facility in a city that is expensive to get to before that, and it's a long event, which magnifies the costs. So, Compass Expo is a good convention. Restaurants nearby at Winterfest. Yeah, there's a Danny Boy's that's walkable, but it's like half a block away. Maybe it's not exactly right next door. It's like hotel, tattoo, CD tattoo parlor, Danny Boy's. Everything else is pretty much driving, but it's not far away. So, but remember that Winterfest is very much a play focused event. There's no dealers. Maybe some people are selling their own stuff on the side, but there's no dealers or any seminars or any of that. There'll be like a 3-minute. There's a dinner that everybody goes out to later in the week, but I mean that's like the only thing besides gaming that happens. So it's a great play centered event. Buckeye. Oh, so Buckeye Game Fest has plenty of restaurants very nearby, either very close, as in right down the hall, or you go outside and walk across the street. There's tons of restaurants. However, there are two good German restaurants in Columbus, one of which is the Hofbrauhaus, which is not walkable, and one of which is Schmidt's, which is theoretically walkable, but I wouldn't walk it. So neither of those are that close. But there's plenty of good restaurants, just not those. Yes, you can get CD tattoos at Winterfest. I suggest that tongue in cheek every year. We're all going to go get our Winterfest tattoos. Brian Jarvis, literally look in the video description for the Wargaming events calendar, which has been in the video description, mentioned by me virtually every week for at least the last year and a half. So Historicon is almost entirely miniatures. Petty Rafesky, welcome back to the show. All right, a deli might actually be better, and I'll settle for good corned beef. If we're talking about Katzinger's Deli, that's slightly more walkable than Schmidt's, but I still wouldn't describe it as walkable. So Dean, oh yeah, shit. All right. So the news broke while we were at Compass Expo that Dean Essig was in a stroke-related auto accident. Spent several days. He might still be in the hospital. I don't know, but he was hospitalized. There is a path to recovery. He will need some therapy. So our best wishes for an extremely speedy and expeditious recovery are obviously with Dean. So um the yeah, so I'm not counting on Dean being there next year. Let me put it that way. I mean, that'd be great. I'd be delighted to see him if he comes. But um Jolly Tim Hortons drove most of the Jolly Pirates out of business. And Jolly Pirate had better donuts than Tim Hortons. I don't know about the coffee. I'd probably say Tim's coffee's a little bit better. But I liked Jolly Pirate donuts. We had one right at the end of the street until it was bulldozed and replaced by a shitty Tim Hortons. Um, I mean, Tim Hortons is fine. Their donuts are fine. Their coffee's fine. But I'll take Dunkin' Donuts food over Tim Hortons food. Tim's donuts are better than Dunkin's donuts nowadays, though. Dunkin's donuts are not as good as they used to be. Anyway, all right. So what's coming up? There should be an unboxing video this week. Forget what it is. It might be Total Krieg Axis Empire's Ultimate Edition. On Thursday, we have a show, and our very special guest will be Mr. Carl Fung, with whom we will be talking about Order of Battle research. Carl being really one of the aces in the scene. So the great news for those who are so inclined is that there will be Weed Fest will be returning to Winterfest by February. Is all I know. And for the record, I prefer McDonald's coffee, which is decent, to Tim's coffee as well. I guess we did see a lot of Dunkin' Donuts, and it did start in New England. We got them out here, but there's not nearly as many here. There's more up here in Acton than there were in Columbus. Columbus is overrun with Tim Hortons, and Wendy's. But there's like more competition in fast food than there are in donuts and hot coffee. So, of all the coffee, I mean, I'd rather go to Starbucks for coffee than any of those places. I don't like Dunkin's coffee. Mo from Mo's Game Table is here, and we got him right when he showed up, and now we're done. So everybody have a great night. All right, folks. Yeah, we voted on it. Well, it was voted on election day. It was issue 2, recreational legalization, in 30 days, but it'll realistically take 6 to 12 months for the like permits to get issued and all that shit. So you can yeah, that's unfortunate, Mo. I'm sorry to hear that. It was great to see Mo and all the other folks I got to catch up with at Compass Expo. It was great to meet Vicky and meet see Ray and Gilbert Collins again, and Bruno and Rick. And great to meet Danny for the first time. Great to see Frank Davis again. Great to talk to Bruce Maxwell again. All these. It was even nice to see Bill for at least 45 seconds before it was like, oh, yep, I got something to do. See you, Bill. But other than that, yeah, well, we pretty much ate the entire 2 hours with that. I mean, I led with like quick buzz through the MMP sale, and then we went right away. So it's definitely it's going to spike Ohio's contribution to Cheeto consumption. There's no doubt about that. So but yeah, it was a great time. I am glad that we were there. At the end of it, you're always glad to be home too, right? But I fucking hate the smell of that stuff. It's terrible. I hate that smell. I don't like the smell of skunks either. Go figure. So it's legal in Connecticut too, as we found out, just because because of comedy. But it's if you're in New York City, you could take the train. If you're anywhere along the Eastern Seaboard, you can take the train up to Connecticut. And apparently, if you get it in plenty of time, it's very inexpensive. So great time. I would recommend folks go to Compass Expo, right? And there's one in May too for those who can't make the November date. We're going to be doing that next time. So I think I can't talk anymore. There was a lot of talking, and hilariously, I guess I'll close with this. I have a naturally high volume. Okay. And a lot of times I will really be loud when I don't mean to be loud. However, when I want to be loud, I could take the room over. And I did a couple of times. They had this like loudspeaker that they would do announcements on, and they'd be like, there'd be tons of noise in this room, and you'd hear this loudspeaker. So what I did a couple of times was after the announcement, I immediately said the announcement at loud volume, and the entire room would silence and pay attention. It was kind of awesome. So anyway, 5 hours by train from Albany. I admit that it didn't occur to me that you might be able to take the train there from Albany. You could certainly do so from Boston or New York or Philly or Baltimore or whatever. So anyway, folks, we do have more videos coming. There will be a loot video that should be out sometime this week. I don't want it hanging around. It's got to stay fresh and snappy. So we'll try and get that out reasonably quick. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thanks very much. What did our numbers look like? I feel like they were pretty high. 161, 162, something like that was our peak. Pretty good. I would like to thank everybody for the support. Remember that by coming out, talking, and hanging out with everybody, we grow as a community, and that itself helps support the show, and I appreciate that. So thanks for watching. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel. Big shout out to the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, without whose help and support and encouragement, we wouldn't be able to keep doing. We literally wouldn't be able to keep doing this. So thank you, patrons. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you all live on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time.